It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi everyone, I'm Gary Shorman and this is The Forum on Eagle Television. Good to have you watching along as our forum's brought to you by Hayes Med. Our guest is Alex Herman, and Alex grew up around Hayes, but he's made the jump into politics. He's going to be running for the 40th District Senate seat in the state of Kansas. Alex, good to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Gary.
Tell me about your background. You started out in Hayes and Hayes boy, correct?
That's correct. I grew up here. I was born at Hadley Hospital in 1984.
You're one of the Hadley babies, huh?
Yeah, I am. I graduated Thomas More Prep in 2003. I then went to undergrad and law school at the University of Kansas. I moved back here to practice law with my dad in 2010. I've been working there since then. I met my wife, Abby. She was actually interning in the county attorney's office. We got married. I adopted her son, Braden, and we have our own daughter now, Samantha, as well.
So you have a busy family in addition to a law practice and now deciding to run for a Senate seat in the state of Kansas. What light came on that said, Alex, I want to run for a Senate seat?
Well, I really got interested in state of Kansas politics in 2009. I had an internship with Representative Eber Phelps, and he really got me interested in Kansas law. After Governor Brownback got elected then, I've been really dissatisfied with a lot of the decisions that are being made in Topeka. I was tired of complaining about them and decided that I wanted to do something about it. This opportunity presented itself to run in the state Senate, and I took advantage of it.
Well, there's an opening there. You're going to be covering a good swath of northwest Kansas. And the seat you're filling, Senator Ralph Osmeyer has filled that seat for many years and covers that area as well. And so what do you look for when you do this, or what are you expecting? Because now all of a sudden you get to start and you head out and start shaking hands. And I don't know if you still kiss babies when you're running for politics in the state of Kansas, but as a Democrat, and those that don't know that, Alex is running as a Democrat, that also can be an uphill battle in Kansas.
You're right, it can be, but at the same time, I think people are tired of Governor Brownback and his friends in the legislature and decisions they've made with the state. A lot of these decisions, not only are we seeing the effect now, but I think we're going to be seeing a lot of the effects in the long term. There's no better time than the present to do something to fix those problems.
When you look at some of the big items out there, I know we talked a little bit earlier about school finance. This program will run after the Senate and the House have determined what to do with the judicial decision that was made. What is your feeling on that, and what are you telling people who might vote for you about what you would do differently to have a different outcome in education?
Well, I mean, the legislature, if they're claiming that this was a surprise decision on their part, they weren't paying very good attention. The Kansas Supreme Court has told them on multiple different occasions the formula you have for funding school, the way that you are going about changing the formula for funding schools is not adequate as required under our laws in this state. Essentially what I think they're doing now is they're wasting taxpayer dollars by having to go back and have this other session when they could have gotten this business done last month.
When you look at that, what can you do different as a senator that changes that?
Well, first and foremost, do what the law says to do and adequately fund the schools. We wrote a lot of loopholes into the tax code in 2012 that I would like to see repealed so that our state has adequate funding to fund schools.
And when you talk about that to some of the constituents, are they buying into that? Because ultimately that means raising taxes, or at least changing the tax structure for some businesses.
Well, it won't be raising taxes on individuals. I'm not interested in raising taxes. Really, I'm interested in getting the biggest bang for your buck. You know, the hallmark of the Republican Party in Kansas has been that you don't pay for it in taxes unless it's a good investment. What you've seen with the Brownback administration is that you just don't pay taxes, period. And while that may save you money on the front end, you're going to end up spending more money down the road to fix these problems. I see that a lot in my line of work. I have a lot of clients that are charged with criminal offenses. A lot of them aren't criminals, aren't necessarily bad people even. They have mental health issues. You know, we could spend $4 a month paying for a lot of these people's medications, or we could spend $25,000 a year locking them up in jail or locking them up in the state prison. I think it makes more sense financially to spend that $4 a month on their medication than it does to spend $25,000 a year locking them up.
No, that's one of the things. You talk about education being one of the most important things, but you also mentioned when we talked previously that mental health issues is another one. And how can you address that? Because that's another thing that funding from the state level has dropped considerably.
And it has dropped considerably. And what we're seeing really with our current tax structure is that, yeah, we're saving money at the state level, but it's costing us more money at the county level. You know, here in Ellis County, we had a recent jail remodel where we have 72 beds in our jail. We are already at capacity. A big part of that problem, in fact, I'd say the number one cause of that problem, is lack of mental health services in the community. And so because the state isn't paying mental health or taking care of mental health services the way they should be, the local county taxpayers are having to pay more money to run a jail. You may be paying more to the state this way, but you're also saving money on local property taxes, and ultimately the net return is saving money, which I think makes more sense.
Well, you know, that's one of the challenges. I know that when you talk about going to Topeka and representing us there, you know, you're from Northwest Kansas. Does that make it harder for somebody from Northwest Kansas to have a voice in Topeka?
It makes it more of a challenge to speak the same language, I think. You know, there's 40 senators in the state of Kansas. More than half of them are from Topeka, Wichita, the Kansas City area. Issues that are plaguing those areas are very different than the issues out here. And so because of that, you know, it's tough to speak the same language. You have an advantage, or the voters out here would have an advantage with me, because I'm someone who's going to be able to explain to them, you know, these are the issues in Northwest Kansas, and this is what we need to be addressing. And by the way, as well, you know, I'm not one of Governor Brownback's cronies. I'm not someone that's going to step in line with what he wants to do. I'm a voice for Northwest Kansas, and that's what point I want to make to people.
What other items are on your list? We talked about education, we talked about improvements in mental health issues. What else would you like to change in Topeka?
Well, I'd like to see a change in climate. I think the biggest problems with the state are that there's so much gridlock in terms of people who support Governor Brownback saying we're either going to do it this way or it's the highway. I would be a voice that would go in and say, no, we're going to find solutions to these problems. It may not be exactly the way any one person wants it done, but it's going to be for the better of the state.
You know, you mentioned my way or the highway, but that's one of the funding sources that the state has used to overcome some things. And I guess that's one of the issues out here in Northwest Kansas is we travel a lot of distances to get, and having a good infrastructure makes a big difference. Is that something that you've taken a look at, the highway dollars that are being, I guess, siphoned off to support other areas?
That's a huge concern for me. You know, 6 years ago, KDOT had resources to pay for 1,200 miles of road repairs a year. to fund Governor Brownback's tax loopholes, that number has gone from 1,200 to 200 miles a year. If you do the math on that, you're looking at about 70 to 80 years to be able to repave every single road in this state. The numbers don't make sense in that regard. We need to restore funding KDOT as well, because commerce obviously is an important part of our economy here in the state of Kansas.
You know, Alex, one thing, we're going to take a break here and come back, and if people want to find out more about you, find out how they can do that, where they can find you, and then talk about what are your next step for running, because you're probably going to have a Republican opposition to this. We'll talk about that in a little bit when we come back. Our forum's brought to you by HaysMed. Back after this.
It's a beautiful day in our super high-speed internet great customer service neighborhood. Like you, this is where we live. In fact, our company is employee-owned, so it's our goal to improve the quality of life for everyone in our community by delivering faster, more reliable internet, clearer, more feature-laden phone service, quality TV channels, all with the level of customer service you'd expect from people who are your neighbors. Eagle Communications, our community connected.
Welcome back to the second half of our forum program. Our guest is Alex Herman. Alex is running for the 40th District Senate seat for the state of Kansas as a Democrat. I want to invite you to send me a question, comments, ideas, solutions. We always like solutions to problems. You can send those to me at gary.shorman@eaglecom.net. Again, our guest is Alex Herman. Alex, decided after being an attorney in Hays, it's like you wanted more to do, or you just wanted the opportunity to do something good for the state of Kansas?
You know, I've been a very vocal opponent of Governor Brownback, and I got to this point where I said, you know, talk is cheap. It's time to actually do something about it. I decided to run because I wanted to take the next step and do what's right for the people of the state of Kansas.
Did anybody say, Alex, what are you thinking?
Oh, tons of people have said that, particularly my dad.
You know, one of the things when you do that, because you step out and you were just talking about the things you find out, the miles that you have to travel, the weekends, all those things, is it more work or less work than what you thought?
A little bit of both, actually. It's more day-to-day decisions. It's less overall work than I expected, but at the same time, I mean, we're not even through the primary season yet, so I have a feeling that with parades and whatnot coming up, I'm going to have a lot more to do.
A busy time. Mm-hmm. And there's an opponent on the Republican side. You don't have a primary opponent for the Democratic side. What are you expecting in the race once you get to the general election?
Well, my opponent is Rick Billinger, who's been in the state legislature on the representative side, has decided to move from one chamber to the other and run for Senate. He obviously has accountability in terms of what's been going on in the legislature for these last few years. I expect a lot of people to have questions for him in terms of what his voting record was.
When you take a look at going into the final race campaign-wise, it does take finance, money. How are you taking care of that? Even just mileage, putting gas in the car to head out on the weekend and go visit. How do you finance that, and where can people find out more about you if they want to follow up what you're doing, Alex?
Raising money is a big part of any campaign whatsoever. I'm in the process of building a Facebook page. I have a personal Facebook page. I don't have one for my run for Senate seat yet. That will be built soon. It'll also have a link to a website I'll have where people can go to donate funds. Running a Senate race in Kansas, if you want any chances of making sure everyone is informed before they vote, costs a lot of money. So I'm kind of learning about how to raise money, what people to talk to, and quite a bit about campaign finance laws as well, which even though I'm an attorney, that's not something they teach you in law school, so you have to learn a lot about sort of on the fly.
On the fly for that. So I know there's a lot that goes into that too as well. So We'll have, when people can look, I'm sure they can Google at some point and find your webpage once that is set up, and Facebook as well, to be able to do that and chase you down through that. And appreciate anybody that decides they're going to jump in, whether Democrat or Republican, say, I'm going to take the personal energy, because you're not getting paid to run for office.
No, you're not.
You still have to do your job. You still have to support your family. You still have to do those things. So running for office takes a lot of work. And Alex, congratulations for making that step, and best wishes when you get to the general election.
Thank you, Gary.
Alex Herman has been our guest. He's running for the 40th District Senate seat in the state of Kansas. If you want more information, you might go online right now and Google his name and look for his page on Facebook. This is The Forum. It's brought to you by HaysMed and by Eagle Communications, our community connected.
HaysMed is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region, with more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery. HaysMed is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. HaysMed, helping people be healthy.